Well, hey folks, I'm back down in South Louisiana today. I'm going to do a little metal detecting. I'm back out at what I have called my field of dreams. The only problem is the field you're looking at right behind me, that's it. It's still planted, not harvested. So my plan today is to kind of work around the edges of it, hit some of the inrows. There's a field that I'm going to head to first that's already been cut and see what I can do there. And then we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to be back down here. It's always fun being back out at this site. You just never know what you're going to get. So yeah, let's get after it. Let's dig some history. All right, well, I just got out here, just got started. I dug a couple of pieces of lead. So that's kind of encouraging. But I just had a really good signal here. It was in the 90s. Look right here. See some kind of green ring. Let's pop it together. Is that going to be a copper? Definitely rang up high. All right, I'm going to have to work on this real quick and get it before it gets dry, and I'll be right back. Well guys, this is an unbelievable find. This is actually my second one of these, and I dug the first one not too far from here a few years ago. This is a 9 deniers or 9 deniers. It's a French coin that was minted in 1721 and 1722, and there's an interesting story about these, and I'll tell you about it in the wrap-up. But that is an unbelievable find. There's a 1721 right here. You can barely see it. See if I can zoom in a little bit. It's there, 1721. See the 2 and the 1 right there? 1 and a 7. It's going to have a crown. I forgot what it says around the edge, but this is going to clean up nicely, I think. Once I get home, I did not bring any sort of toothpick or anything with me, so this is just an unbelievable start to this hunt back out here. And one of the reasons that this is the kind of stuff, one of the reasons that I want to get back down here so much. I just love metal detecting at this place. It's always been good to me. Unbelievable first start. 1721 French coin. All right, just had a screamer of a signal. You can see it laying there. I think it's going to be a padlock. Yep. I've found many varieties of these in this field. It's missing the arm on it. Let me get that cleaned up a little bit. I see some design on it. All right, you can see it there. Cool little lock. I don't think I have this particular design. Would have been used like on a like a safe box, a mailbox, mail carrier kind of box thing. Cool little find. All right, well, I've moved over to another field. I'm working these row ends right here along this road. A lot of bricks and pottery through here. And I had a 30 signal. Kind of a weird signal. Not sure what that is. It's just going to be a piece of trash or what? It says something on it. It's very, very thin. I don't think it's that old. Towers fish. I don't know what that is. Almost looks like a little lid of something that would have popped off. Fish something. ND at the bottom. I don't know. All right, we'll keep going. All right, I think I just popped a tax token, aluminum tax token, 1930s. Yep, that's what it is. Got a bunch of these. Box full of them. All right. Now this is the first one. Right down in there. Oh yeah, that's a cool one. Look at that little yellow and green marble. Awesome. All right, just had a pretty decent signal popped out right here. I think I know what it's going to be. It's going to be a plantation token from this plantation commissary that I'm on, that once was here. Yeah, almost positive I've found some of these before. If you've watched all my videos, you'll recognize it. Let me get it cleaned up, and I'll show you the side that I can show you, because the other side has the plantation name written on it, if it is what I think it is. All right, there you go, 35 cents. And it is what I think it is. So the back does say that it is redeemable at this plantation commissary. Awesome little piece of history. Glad to get that.
I wanted to take just a minute to talk a little more about these plantation tokens I dig down here in South Louisiana. Lots of folks have asked about them, and since I recover quite a few of them in my videos, and I personally think they are some of the more significant historic items I find, I wanted to provide a bit more information about them. What I refer to as plantation tokens were essentially a type of money or privately issued currency used for payment of workers on a plantation. Sometimes they're referred to as trade tokens or picker's checks, and they were spendable in the plantation company store or commissary, and sometimes were perhaps redeemable for official currency, legal tender. It's well documented that this type of payment was a global phenomenon in the 19th and early 20th centuries. These tokens have been recovered, or tokens like these have been recovered in countries all over the world that were used in much the same way as those of Louisiana. In Louisiana, only relatively large plantations with many workers needed or were able to operate their own store. Before the abolition of slavery, there were not many plantations that operated commissaries, but there were some. Most tokens you find were issued and utilized right after the Civil War during Reconstruction, when workers, former slaves, then turned paid workers, had to acquire life necessities for themselves. And this drove more plantations to open their own stores. The tokens varied in shape and color and were made from brass, bronze, copper, aluminum, and even cardboard, which obviously you don't find in the dirt these days. They were shaped differently for each denomination or each value. For example, round for $1 or 5 or 10 cents, flower for 25 or 75 cents, octagon for 50 cents, and so on. Some tokens were redeemable for specific items as well, such as a loaf of bread or a ration of meat or tools or tobacco. And there have been different explanations as to why these tokens were used. One being that right after the Civil War, the South suffered from a shortage of coins, especially in isolated areas, as many of these plantations were. And that lack of available official coinage to pay workers prompted the use of tokens. Another explanation is that tokens were used as labor control, essentially to keep workers from needing to ever need to leave the plantation and thus reduce the risk of losing the workers. The other reason usually mentioned is that the use of tokens provided a closed system, so to speak. Tokens were cheaper than real money and only redeemable at the plantation store. So a worker's wages essentially became the very things they needed for survival. Some have called it sort of a rigged system. Either way, as the labor market branched out and plantation stores eventually transitioned to more of general community stores serving broader areas, the use of tokens declined and ultimately ceased in the first half of the 1900s. So, there you go. When I dig these plantation tokens from now on, you will know a little more about them, and I do think they are significant pieces of South Louisiana history.
All right, I had a really good signal right up here in the top of the row, and look at this. Awesome. Recognize it? That is a complete boot heel plate. Outstanding. That's a really great example I've dug these before many times, but this is a really nice one. Complete, not broken, almost straight. This would have been tapped into the heel of a boot to provide grip and also to prevent wear. A lot of Civil War soldiers wore these. Very possible that it could be a Civil War soldier, from a soldier, but you just don't know. Definitely Civil War era, but that is a cool find. Awesome. I just popped another little token. Same exact kind, 35 cents. Get it cleaned up. Awesome. That was a weird signal. Up in the 80s, then drop back down. What is that? That feels like a large cent. No, what is that? What in the world? Does that say USA on it? What does that say? Is that a collar device? What does it say? All right, let me get it cleaned up for a minute here. What is this? Okay, I didn't do much to it. Just lightly rubbed it on my pants, and I don't know what this is. I think it's a collar device. A collar disc. I don't know. It's a UNCS. I just don't know. I'm not familiar with this. Hopefully I can do some research and find out before the wrap up, but let me know what you think in the comments. It's a cool find, whatever it is. All right, well, there's the board. Not a lot there, but I'm pretty happy with the way things turned out for the hunt. We'll run through this pretty quickly, although I'm going to explain the backstory of the find of the day. If you stuck around for that, I will go over that. Picked up a lot of pottery shards. Got a little project in mind I'm going to do with that. A few odds and ends over here. This looks very familiar to me, and I cannot place it. I think I've dug one of these before. If you know what it is, let me know. Drop a comment. And I also think I've dug one of these before. This looks more like a farm implement type thing, but again, not sure. It's old, whatever it is. It's kind of age of the everything else there, the old brass. Little odds and ends, buckles, different little things there. Go up here to the top. This said Towers Fish Brand. And if I could get it to focus. There you go, Towers Fish Brand. Not sure what that is. Probably throw that away. Thought it was going to be a bag seal, but I don't see where there's been any wire through it. So it could be just a flattened musket ball. Piece of lead. Another piece of lead up here. There's that tax token from the 30s. A few little buttons that I picked up. A clad dime. There's the marble. 3 wheat cents. I thought this was going to be trash, but I actually saw a little bit of gold gilt on there, and I dropped it in some lemon juice. It was some type of little brooch. Part of a brooch, I think. I think there's a flower there. I'm not exactly sure what the design is, but it's a flower and something. Not sure which way it goes. Cool little piece of jewelry. Got the boot heel plate. Very nice condition on that. Got the 3 Plantation tokens. 35-cent denomination each of the Plantation that I was on. And by the way, I've given a ton of those to the landowner. He has more than he ever wants or needs of the tokens. But always happy to find those. And hopefully you learned something about the tokens in general from my little history lesson earlier. You might have skipped through it. I don't know. And then this piece definitely did get an ID, and you can see it a lot better now there. That's a G. I was thinking it was a C, so it's USNG, United States National Guard. And I'll throw a picture up to the side over there. This is World War I era, a collar disc. Definitely I was right about the collar disc, but got a good ID on that, World War I, 1917 era. Army collar disc for the National Guard. So that's a really cool find. I don't have this monogram design. I've found a bunch of these before, but I don't have this particular design, so that's cool. And then the find of the day, the find of quite a while for my detecting is this French 9 denier. Some people are pronouncing it deniers over here in the States, but I think the actual, I'm probably not saying it exactly right, but denier, 9, a denomination of 9 denier. The story here, if I can remember all of it, and I'll show you the one that I've dug before, but it cleaned up really nice, had some damage right here. These were minted in 1721 and 1722 for only 2 years. Most were minted in the port city of La Rochelle on the Atlantic coast of France. There were a small number minted in Rouen. Not sure how you pronounce that, R-O-U-E-N, I believe. So this was during King Louis XV's reign. These were struck, and the thought was that they would circulate these in the French New World over what's now the United States and Canada. And so a French shipping company imported them into Canada. They were not received well at all because of the design, apparently. They didn't really like the design at all. And so they shipped most of them back. They rejected them. I think they left about 8,000 in Canada, but they shipped the vast majority back to France, said we don't really want them as part of our currency. The decision was then made to ship them down to New Orleans, which was also French territory at that time. And that's how they came to be found in South Louisiana by me and many other, or not many other, a few other detectorists across the Gulf Coast, some in Alabama. I think the farthest north in St. Louis. So these were, they weren't well received in New Orleans. As a matter of fact, they ended up reducing the denomination down to 6. And the Louisiana government actually passed a law that said that you have to accept these as tender, but eventually they just sort of faded away. They weren't being used, they weren't being accepted, and eventually they just kind of faded into history. But that is the story. What's really cool to me, and I posted this as a reel over on Instagram. What's really cool is that in all likelihood, the coin that I'm holding has crossed the Atlantic Ocean 3 times on a French merchant ship or a French frigate during the age of sail. And that's just really cool to me. I really enjoy thinking about that kind of thing. And about, the last person to touch this thing. This thing is over 300 years old. So very cool piece of history, in my opinion. Let me grab this other one real quick. All right, so here's the partner to the one I found today. Look at that. That one's not near as good a shape, but it's also a 1721H, but not near as crisp on the details. But very, very happy to be able to have recovered 2 of these quite rare coins. I've seen them. I was looking at the different auction sites. They've sold. Not that I would sell these, but they've sold. I think back in 2012 was kind of the peak of their value, and it was a really good condition. I think one sold for over $6,000. More realistically, anywhere between $250, $300 up to $1,600, $1,700, depending on the condition. And these are obviously not in great condition, but just very, very cool pieces of history. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for today. Appreciate you guys watching as always. I mentioned Instagram. I'm still over there. I still post things. I do post things that don't make the cut for the YouTube channel. If I don't have enough to put together a video, I'll post those things over on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. So anyway, appreciate you guys watching. Drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you saw something here that I wasn't able to identify over here on this side. Appreciate all the interaction and likes, things like that. So we will see you guys next time.